So last time we took notes together about Pythagorean theorem, we talked about finding C. Okay, so if this was our right angle and I go diagonally, we found that side. But if you notice, that side's already given to us. Okay, so we're going to have to solve now for one of the legs. That's what we're working on today, is solving for one of the legs. So our formula that we use, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That formula doesn't change. But here's the new part, right? The trickier part, where we, one, have another step, and two, excuse me, across is c squared. So if I put in my c squared first, make it easier. It doesn't matter if I put in the 10 for a or b. I don't like b's because they look like sixes sometimes, so I'm going to just plug in for my b, unless it tells me, okay? So I have a squared plus 10 squared equals 20 squared. That first part of plugging in doesn't really change. Where I put stuff changes, but the actual process doesn't change. A squared stays a squared. 10 squared is 100. 20 squared is 400. Well, I can't add these two together. This is what I want to get alone. So the inverse of that is minus 100 from both sides. A squared is by itself. I have 300 on the right side. The next part doesn't change as well. How do I get the a squared to become an a? I take the square root. So that's actually going to be an a. That's my fault. I didn't fix that. And this is going to be 17.3. Okay? We'll do a couple more, don't worry. Here is the right angle. Draw my line across from that. You end up at 5. So my c squared is going to be 5 squared. I have an x squared and I have a 3 squared. I keep my x squared. What is 3 squared? 9. What is 5 squared? 25. I want to get the x squared alone, so what do I need to do to both sides? Minus 9. X squared. 25 minus 9 equals 16. How do I undo that square? Take the square root. Good. This is going to be x. And what's the square root of 16? 4. Okay? That's all you're doing. Now try number 3. Across from the there is going to be the 17. So I want to put 17 in squared first. That way, that one's already done. Then it doesn't matter with the other two. I'm going to do 8 squared plus x squared. And if yours are flipped around, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. 8 squared is 64 plus x squared. And what's 17 squared? 289. I was totally off. I want to get this alone, so I need to subtract 64 from both sides. That cancels out. I have an x squared on this side. What's 289 minus 64? 225. To undo that square, I need to take the square root. What is the square root of 225? So this equals 15. Okay? Now, this next one, there's no picture. Almost makes it easier, doesn't it? So I have 8 squared plus b squared equals c squared. What's 8 squared? 64 plus my b squared equals 100. What do I need to do to both sides? Subtract 64. That gets my b squared alone. I am left with b squared. It's 100 minus 64. 36. And now we're going to take the square root of both sides. And I can change that c to a b pretty darn easy. And that, in fact, equals 6. I hope you're starting to get the hang of this and are like, man, Miss Davy, I got this. I got this. All right, just a couple more together. And if you really feel like you got it, you can keep going. All right, across from the right angle is 21. I have a y squared and 4 squared. I have a y squared. 4 squared is 16. 21 squared is 441. To get y squared alone, I need to subtract 16 on both sides. That gives me 425. How do I undo that y squared? Take the square root. And y is 20.6. All right, last one that we're going to do together on this. We got this. We got this. A squared. B is 40 squared. C is 50 squared. A squared plus 1600 plus 2500. A squared minus 1600 . What is the square root of 900? 30. All right, so you are going to work on the next 4 by yourself.